Okay, this video is going to explain my business project based on using robotic strollers. Okay, here we have two models of robotic strollers, one from the company Sun Funder and another from the company Freenovi. And well, after studying them, in principle I like the one from Frov better, but oh well, everyone has their own interest, let's say no. And well, this was to show a little what I am doing. Okay, I've contracted a domain. Okay, of course, at the moment this is nothing more than a test. But in principle I'm going to click here on one of the cars in its bottom, and we are accessing a website that is inside the car itself that broadcasts video and audio from the car. Okay. And if I go back to the same website again, I will try to access the other car as well. I access the first one, and it shows us the image at first, and it also shows us the sound. Okay, right now I don't have the sound set very loud. The moment I put it a little high, it starts to couple. There you hear the echo. Okay. And well, then in beginning we have the remote control of each of the two strollers simultaneously from a website. Okay, then I can give it to move forward to back to stop. Okay, we see it now from the camera, forward to back, that is stop. Then later we can turn to the left, forward, turning to the left, to the right, backwards, stop. Okay, the same from logically we can see it from the camera. Okay, more things. Okay, well, logically left to right, like it's logical. No. The wheels of this car are Fander for every time it is given they turn 10 gr. It had been off center by 11 gr, but I have solved it by software in such a way that those 11 gr have been corrected. Let's say this would be the central position, and then we have put it, well, we have put it, I have put it in a way, okay, which is by pressing the F8 V key. I press F8 and I get a message that says you have activated the step by step mode, short steps, very quickly. Okay, then I accept myself. Well, the truth is that in this car the short steps are short, but they are just as fast from what I'm seeing. But oh well, yes, it is true that in this case when it turns directly 30 gr. Okay, the wheel I have put it like this because to handle it it has been more comfortable for me than a 10 gr turn ago. Okay, it is music. The more it handles better when it comes to moving it through places where everything is full of obstacles. If it doesn't stop walking, it crashes everywhere, and this way it doesn't crash anymore. It doesn't crash as much, and it becomes more comfortable for me to do things. Turns of 30 gr. Okay, I would like to comment that it results from the fact that each of the raspberries use software to emit video and sound that uses a lot of communications ports, and those communications ports I am not able in principle to configure it in such a way so that I know which ones you are going to use. Okay, that gives me some problems when it comes to making the two work at the same time, so to make them work at the same time I have done a, let's call it a fix. Okay, that's it. Use another internet connection. In this case my parents and I have had to use a computer, an old computer. I have put an Ubuntu on it. Okay, and well, with that one, with that system, with that Ubuntu using IP table, well, what I do is that indefinitely, I use it through a VPN. And what would be the internet connection? So that I don't get a conflict, let's say, okay, so this I'm using here the two internet connections simultaneously. Okay, in one internet connection I use for one of the two strollers specifically, the sphere goes through mine, it's worth the one I have here, and the Freenovi goes through my parents' internet connection, that is, the Freen goes through a VPN, but it doesn't show in absolutely a VPN WW, and the truth is that it doesn't give me any type of problems. Okay, well, let's start to look at the issue of the free that no, we haven't even started to move it. Has some curious characteristics because the wheels don't turn. Okay, not even a little. They don't turn at all, so they do turn because it has four-wheel drive, and what it does is that the wheel on the right moves faster than the one on the left, or the one on the left more than the one on the right, and that allows you to make a turn. Okay, if I turn it forward it moves forward, if I turn it backwards it moves backward, it stops. Okay, if I want it to turn, for example, walk forward but go a little to the right, it goes a little to the right, it walks a little back. Okay, well, it also has the F8 thing. Okay, I go to F8, I get the little message here on the screen, and well, it turns out that in here F8, well, do this here I do have it, since the movements are fast, and also when I turn it. Okay, so it rotates. Okay, if we see it from the screen then we would have this appearance. We can also put it full screen. The F11 music. Okay, well, what can all this be for? Okay, well, originally I had thought about using it for remote tourism. I know it's a little crazy idea, a little difficult, but I had really thought about an army of strollers where they would have a tour guide who would teach them things and so on from different parts of the world, and you tour guide who would teach them things and so on from different parts of the world, and you could sightseeing anywhere without having to travel. But with the possibility of moving around the places is fine. It is true that for that, we would have to make another type of robot that would surely have more height. Maybe it would have options for things, fine. So let's say that it was the original idea, but for now that idea has been put on hold. And well, right now the idea is to have competitions. Okay, competitions between the strollers. Okay, races of different types, races with obstacles, without obstacles. Anyway, well, that's a little bit of the idea. At the moment, as I mentioned, I don't have a system to be able to use many strollers with a single internet connection, but I'm working on it. In principle, I'm working on configuring a heinous server, which would be what would allow me to do such a thing, but at the moment I don't. I have it resolved in. I have made a fix. That then well, also comment on the fact that we are going to get out of here I have an UNNC connection with my strollers. It is worth something very important because at a given moment I can change something without having to connect it physically wired. Okay. Very comfortable, very useful. It's true that when they are transmitting they go slower, but it's logical, not because it's consuming CPU. Okay. But well, especially the Raspberry Pi 3 because logically it's a little worse than the Raspberry Pi 4, but let's also say defend. Okay, it looks like I have configured one with a higher resolution than the other, but well, that is circumstantial and well, right. Now the web server is a Ubuntu virtual machine that we have here. This is my Q3 web server. Okay. And where does it say Ubuntu local router? Well, this is nothing more nor less than a computer connected to my parents' house that is forwarding its internet so that I can use it, because that way I don't have any conflicts. Okay, because I use both internet connections, so this would be Ubuntu 24, although here the image that is seen of a 22 because before it was a 22, but here what I have set is 1.24. Let's see, I don't know if it is there. Let's see if it is. It's okay, let's see if it's configured incorrectly for a second. Let's see. No, this is not configured correctly for a second. Okay, this is the IP of my parents' house, which by the way is from Yell. Here I have a Digi. Let's see if I can configure it correctly. Continue. User. Okay, for a moment, I know I have a big one. It's not really that. This is the remote control program that I'm using. I'm using one that worked better for me. It's called No Machine, the remote control program. It is serving me right now for, well, it is a very basic computer, you know, a quad-core with a tiny hard drive. That is, yes, it is an SSD hard drive, and well, in principle I had set it up with 1.22 with a mechanical hard drive, but well, I updated it to a solid hard drive and I gave it a 24. Which doesn't mean it's better. I even think it's a little slower, but what happens is that since it's supposed to have more support time and so on, well, I'll say come on, I'll put a hard drive in it. I'm going to put a more modern Ubuntu, but it doesn't have good. This has its technique, like it's logical that at a given moment I can use music, a VPN ward, and that in short I can broadcast from the Raspberry and let it come out by the web, and that it appears Well, anyway, it has its history, you know, it has its history. And I would like to comment on the fact that here we are actually seeing from left to right 1920 lines OKEH. And from top to bottom there are really 1440, but there is a part that cannot be seen. I have made it fit the width of the screen. This causes me to lose a little image at the top and bottom. But it is also true that at the top, a little sign appears saying something like if I were using software, shareware or something like that. Okay, but hey, I'm trying to get in touch with the creator of the program and I can't get him to give me access to the good version, but anyway, doing it this way doesn't work. See, so it doesn't have much importance either, and also if I do it another way, part of the screen is also wasted, so I am about to leave it like this, and that's it. The truth is, okay, well, that's it. This is just a little bit my idea at the moment. I have 2 strollers that are working. Okay, I have bought 4, but the other 2, one is broken and I have to repair it. It also has programming problems because it is another more complicated model. These 2 strollers have Python applications. Okay, they receive the orders that I give them. I send it to you, I send it a JS through JavaScript and through those functions, well, I make them work. I'm forgetting a very important thing. Let's see a very important topic to comment on that I forgot. Okay. In the case of Freen, we're not going to see, I've implemented a function that is with the F9 key. That doesn't have it. The sewer doesn't have it. Maybe I'll put it in. We'll see. It's avoiding obstacles. It's okay to avoid obstacles. Basically, I'm giving it an order to go forward, but if I find an object I should automatically avoid that obstacle. Okay, I have to say that it doesn't always work, but I mean sometimes it fails, but well, let's see if he is able to realize there it is. Well, I forgot to comment on a couple of things. Well, first of all, I would like to say that the domain that I have contracted is this one here, which is enjoying competing. Well, I had forgotten to mention it before and then I wanted to mention that the strollers can move the car head. I think it's something I forgot to say. Let's see for a moment. It's coupling. I forgot to comment on it, but well, let's see here. You are watching the S funder. I'll move it to the left. Okay, move your head, move the left camera specifically. This one moves 81 GR. Look there, he is looking at his little brother. He is looking at the other stroller next to him, up to 81 GR on the left, 81 GR on the right. It is not bad. I have programmed it in this case to advance from grade to grade. Yes, it is true that I have it put a small delay in what is the emission of the JSA that we don't say. Okay, although I left the key pressed but it doesn't emit at no more than 4 per second. Let's go. Well then that's just commenting that it could be turned. Okay, it has a centering what? This would be and although it moves slowly to one side or the other when we press the centering key, it centers quickly. Okay, we give it the same centering key upwards. It is also used for this to go down in this case. Downwards and well. Something that may seem very logical and very obvious, but that the 9, the 7, the TR and in the 1 are combinations. For example, the C is a combination of up and to the right, that is, the nu is a combination of the U and the I mean, up and to the right. It's okay like this. For example, if I'm giving it what it's doing, it's up, right up, right up, right up, right up, right up, right up, right, and so on and so on. Left. Down and the 3 is down and the CCO is well that music, okay, and well with respect to the other stroller, because in principle it works the same, or no that. I remember there is no music difference in that topic. It's true that it only has 2 servomotors. Because it doesn't need a servomotor to turn the wheels from left to right. But what would be the issue of the head that the camera has? Well, it works the same. Okay, here we are already seeing now what is the other stroller. Let's move your head to the right. I'm going to center it on the left at the top. Before, I mentioned that I like the free model more than the Sun Funder model. But no, I haven't dedicated myself to explaining why right now they don't have a battery. Okay, but I wanted to comment that the body one, instead of a single switch, 2 switches, one of which allows you to power the entire assembly and another that will disconnect the part that is not part of the Raspberry in such a way that if we want to power only the Raspberry and use less battery, then we can use it. So from there, we have a first advantage. Another second advantage is the issue that it incorporates 4 LEDs to measure what the battery is in such a way that when the 4 LEDs are on, it would be perfect. With 3 LEDs it would work also well, and now since it only has 2 LEDs, it would be a good time to change the battery. While in this case you have to pay attention to the fact that the behavior starts to fail when it starts to fail. So you change it. No, it logically works better. The LED system is okay. Then later it has here a series of Additional outputs for the issue of servo motors OK in such a way that if one breaks down you can use more. In fact it has happened to me, it has happened to me too. It is true that with this one it has not happened to me, no output has been damaged, but well, then later it has another very important additional advantage, which is the assembly issue. It is much simpler. It has many fewer screws. This piece of the motherboard, well, it incorporates the batteries at the same time, that is, the battery carrier meant. And in several pieces, that is, like 3 pieces or things like that or more, they are all unified. Here okay, it is indescribable the difference in work from assembling one model to assembling another, including the issue of the size of the screws. Know the issue of the screws and then the issue of another advantage, the issue of steering, the fact that it uses 4 motors okay well. That gives a lot of that is a lot of problems, a lot of advantages with respect to having this traditional system okay, because this is put with plastic okay. So these plastics, if you assemble it wrong, and it is very difficult to reassemble it, that is to say dismantle it and reassemble it okay. It can happen to you, for example, if you don't screw the servo motor well, that it is twisted okay. In fact, it has happened to me. I had to solve it through software. Well, anyway, it has quite a few inconveniences. Apart from the fact that it can't make the quick turns that it does. This thing that it does so suddenly, it's totally worth it that it has a series of advantages. The fact that it has 4-wheel drive, and instead of having that servo motor it actually has one less servo motor, but it has the same functionality because it only has 2 servo motors instead of 3. Okay, it seems like a very interesting model to me. And lastly but not less important is that it is much cheaper, but on the order of almost half or something like that.